So my first question, who or what made you decide to attend Southern University?
So for me, it's really funny. My first choice was not Southern University. My first choice was actually Florida A&M. And I have a twin sister that actually was going to go to Southern University. So it kind of spun from there. It was her choice. And so when she said she wants to go to Southern, I was like, well, oh, okay, maybe I want to go to Southern. And then of course all of that, crossed up, different things happened, and she ended up not going to Southern University, and it's kind of like I went in place. So it was actually her idea, I say first, to attend Southern University, and so I was the one that ended up going to Southern University instead.
Based off that, what drew you to an HBCU? Obviously, you had mentioned Florida A&M, but so obviously ended up attending Southern. But what made you already decide you wanted to go the HBCU route?
Well, I'm from Huntsville, Alabama, so I always tell people Alabama A&M, raised me. Southern University made me. I grew up on the campus of Alabama A&M, so we knew about it. We had always been exposed to it. Magic City Classic, Alabama A&M, Alabama State. We had always been exposed to HBCUs since we were children, and then of course, it also helped with a different world, and so being raised on those campuses and seeing all the things, every sport, every giants on that campus, and everybody that were monumental figures from HBCUs, it really wasn't a hard decision, to choose HBCU.
So it really wasn't a if an HBCU is what HBCU.
Right, right.
How would you describe your HBCU experience?
It was a experience that, if I could do it time and time again, I would choose it over and over and over again. No matter what I went through, I would choose it over and over again. It's like family, it's where you go to cut your teeth. It's one of those places that you go to cut your teeth, and it's like a family environment. It's like no matter what happens, you never forget those people, you never forget your friends, your professors, those experiences, and they just grow you and make you a better person. So, the overall experience is amazing, which is why we always go back to homecoming, so we can relive those moments that we had when we were actually in undergrad, as those young kids doing whatever we wanted to, when there were no worries. We had no worries when we were, in undergrad.
Do you have a best HBCU memory?
Aside from graduation, I'm gonna give you probably one of the best HBCU memories. I'm gonna say, God, this is going out. This is of course a sports memory. I remember when Southern played FAMU, I believe my sophomore year, and we beat FAMU in Tallahassee. And I remember them cutting on the sprinklers for us, because I think it was 13-10 or something like that. And after we beat them, I remember everybody just rushing onto the field at Bragg Stadium, and they cut the sprinklers on. It was so chaotic, but it was such a close game and such a rivalry game. But that had to be one of my favorite memories, because it was so chaotic and it was so much chaos. And just seeing them cut on the sprinklers to get us off of the field, it was chaos then, but it's funny now. It's really funny now.
Take me through your experience post-college. What led you to found the Black College Experience?
So, post college, as we all know, so many times HBCUs just do not get the highlights, and they were not getting the attention, the exposure that they needed. Whenever we would see things, it wasn't always in the positive light. We weren't always discussing all of the things that we need to discuss. And so with the Black College Experience, it's to expose athletes in a positive manner, to bring out those stories that we don't always see. We don't always hear about certain athletes. We didn't always, get the spotlight that we needed. And so at the time, you had the Tariq Cohens, the Chester Rogers, and those kind of stories that we needed to develop, and those kind of stories that, North Carolina A&T knew about him. Schools knew about him that were in the MEAC, other schools knew about him. And so they knew how great he was, but it was time for the world to know how great he was outside of just the HBCU landscape. So that was the need for establishing the Black College Experience, to bring more positive exposure to HBCU athletics.
So as the CEO of the Black College Experience, what are some challenges you have faced?
Probably one of the main things would be buying in, trying to get people to actually buy into it, believe it. it had to be consistent, had to keep at it, had to show people that you're true to what you're doing, you're true to the brand. It's not just something that you're hopping onto. You're not just hopping onto it because of the culture. You're not just doing it because, everybody else is doing it at the time. You're not just doing it because it's the big thing there. You have to be consistent and show that at the end of the day, it's still about the athletes. And so one of the main things was buy-in. I don't know if you know, but I work it's like a male dominated environment. So being in a male dominated environment, you're oftentimes up against so many males, and so many times, sometimes it's just arguments about who's right and who's wrong. And, it's so much stuff. Sometimes it's just a challenge, but being in this space for a while now, it's like you either respect me or you don't. I'm going to keep moving, whether you respect it or not. I'm done proving myself. I've put in my time. I've done my work. I've done what I need to do. And every day is a learning experience. And that's one of the things. Every day is a learning experience. Some of the other things is sometimes, you can't get a quick response on things. You can't get things back the way you need to. But main challenges definitely would be getting people to buy in. You had to get people to buy into actually believing in the brand and believing that you're actually, confident in what you're doing and know what you're talking about.
So you're speaking buy-in. Do you have a specific moment you remember when you realized that more people than maybe you thought, or more people, someone that sticks out that bought in, if you will, that really made you excited as a founder?
More so, I probably would say, I have one specific friend, and he actually went to Alcorn, and no matter what I do, at the end, he always says, Keisha, I believe in you. I believe in you every single time. That's the one thing he always says is, I believe in you. I believe in you. I believe in what you're doing. I believe in the brand. I've always believed in Black College Experience. And I know that you truly love those athletes. And that's the thing. I be thinking the athletes are my children, and they're not. And that's the thing. It's always about the student athlete. At the end of the day, it's always about the athlete. And so that one person, his name is Willie Wilkes. He graduated from Alcorn State University, but he is that one person that I knew. I was like, okay, I'm set. I'm set there.
Where do you see the Black College Experience in the next 5 years?
In the next 5 years, I just see us expanding, looking at some things as far as like TV wise, expanding to the big screen, still on the sidelines, doing some sideline work, doing some sideline reporting, but definitely in a bigger landscape, looking at going on TV, which is something I always said I wanted to do, is go to TV in the long run. So definitely TV time.
So as you know, the culture of HBCUs have really started to take a spotlight, which has been very exciting. What do you think the cause of that is?
Well, of course, it's so many different things going on. And of course, we can always, we got to give props to Primetime. We got to give props to Deion Sanders for being that light and shining that light on the HBCU culture and calling out things that have to be called out, calling out things such as when, players were not drafted 2 years ago, and talking about different things, how we don't get the exposure on TV on certain networks. And so I believe that Deion Sanders is, Coach Sanders he's a major movement. And it's, definitely he was one of the people. And then you have people coming, like you have Coach Eddie George and Hugh Jackson. You have all of these other, monumental things. And then you look at things like the HBCU Legacy Bowl, where you get exposure and, people like Doug Williams, Shaq Harris that stand behind it. And so these are figures that are actually there that's pushing and promoting it. And so I believe it's like a domino effect. Now it's just kind of trickling down. Everybody is knowing about, the HBCU name.
What do HBCUs need to do to continue to thrive?
We have to continue to, expose the brand. We have to continue to expose the brand in a positive way. We have to keep it in people's face. And I have a phrase that I live by, being that I'm in athletics, and it's all sports matter. And, no matter what the sport is, basketball, baseball, softball, tennis, track and field, all of them matter. We know some generate more money than another, but we have to continue to push those stories and get it out there about those athletes. If it's swimming, if it's lacrosse, we have to continue to push those stories. And so we have to be very active in what we're doing, proactive, more say, to get those stories out and talk about our historically Black colleges and universities, talk about our institutions, the positive things that they're doing, whether it's, donations, grants, athletics, whatever it is. If it's a first time thing, we have to continue to be advocates for our institutions as much as we can, because if we don't tell our story, who will? And if we don't tell it now, when will it be told? So it's up to us to continue to advocate for our schools.
What's a piece of advice you'd give to your younger self?
Oh my goodness. If I had I known then what I know now, I probably would have started doing this before. And one of the things I stand on is once you start, keep going. I probably would have told myself that, because there's so many hiccups and things and so many doubts. So I probably would have told my younger self, once you start, keep going.
What's a piece of advice you'd give to the next generation of women in sports?
There are going to be times when you face adversity, but you got to have tough skin. And when someone tells you no, one person tells you no, all you need is one yes. People can tell you no all the time, but all you need is one yes, and you keep going and you keep going. Keep thick skin. You got to have thick skin in this game. And once you prove yourself, as I said before, once you prove yourself, you have nobody else to, keep proving yourself to, but you got to keep going. You have to keep going in this game.
Last question. Who has the best homecoming and why?
Well, of course, I'm going to say Southern University, A&M College in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Of course, I'm going to say that because I'm biased. It's my school. And so, it's just it's a tailgate. The tailgate experience is like no other. It's a tailgate experience that you definitely don't want to miss. I mean, you got all kind of food. If you can imagine every kind of food, and then Cajun food, and then other food, and crawfish bowls, and all of that stuff, you get all of that. Aside from Greek strolling, you get all of this with athletes doing their walkthrough. It's so many things that you get to experience, and just being able to come back and actually see all of your friends and people that you met in undergrad. One of my favorite things, and I'm a little old school, I love being around my alumni association because I'm active in my alumni association. So being able to get back and talk to my alumni association and being able to recruit and just kind of see where things are is some of my favorite times. But of course, Southern University, I mean, we're the best. Of course I'm gonna say that.
Where can we find the Black College Experience online?
So if you're looking for a Black College Experience, we're on Twitter, Black College EXP. We're on Instagram, Black College Experience, on Facebook, The Black College Experience, and then on TikTok, Black College Experience. And then if you're looking for the website, it's going to be www.blackcollegeexperienceinc.com.
Thank you so much for taking your time with us. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.